Local woman missing for a year is finally getting some answers. The Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office identified the remains discovered just a few weeks ago to be that of Deundrea Ford.
Imagine sitting in the front seat of a car on a humid Houston night. You're 21 years old, drifting in and out of sleep, while the man driving, a friend you trust, navigates the quiet streets. Then the world explodes. Glass shatters, metal tears. The person next to you isn't breathing anymore. And the only reason you're still alive is because the lead just happened to miss your heart. Most people would call that a miracle. But for Deundrea Ford, surviving that execution was just a death sentence on a longer fuse. By mid-2023, Deundrea was the most dangerous woman in Texas. Not because she carried a weapon, but because she carried a secret. She was the star witness in a capital murder case. The one person who could put 4 people away for life. The threats were already landing in her inbox. One message, or intercepted by the authorities, I'll said it all. She ain't safe in Houston at all. And yet on September 22nd, there she was, working a late shift at a bikini bar off the East Freeway. No bodyguards, no police escort. Just a young mother trying to make enough to feed her 4-year-old son. At 1 a.m., Deundrea walked into the parking lot, climbed into a white Ford Transit van with a stranger, and simply ceased to exist. The question everyone is asking is the same one that's going to keep you glued to your screen for the next 10 minutes. Did the people she was testifying against finally finish what they started? Or did Deundrea walk straight into the arms of a different kind of monster? When the law uses a 21-year-old girl as a shield to build their case, who is supposed to be guarding the shield? If Deundrea was your sister, your daughter, or your friend, would you have let her walk out to that parking lot alone, knowing there was a literal price on her head? I want you to stop right now and tell me in the comments. Is the system that failed to protect her just as guilty as the man who took her? The people who wanted Deundrea silent are counting on you to look away. They want her story forgotten. Don't let the bad guys win by staying invisible. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications right now to ensure these stories are never buried under a pile of paperwork. It's the only way to keep the spotlight on the truth. If you believe everyone should be treated fairly, you'll make sure you're here for the resolution. By the end of this video, you'll see the footage that the police almost missed, and you'll realize that sometimes, the person you're running from isn't the one who actually catches you. One detail in that white van changed everything, and most people didn't notice it until it was far too late. But first, we have to go back to that night on Selinsky Road. Because to understand why Deundrea vanished, you have to understand the targets already painted on her back. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive. The clock hit 1 a.m. at Diva's Bikini Sports Bar. For most, the night is winding down, but for a mother working for her son's future, it's just the beginning of the end. Surveillance cameras caught Deundrea walking across the pavement. She wasn't running. She wasn't screaming. She walked calmly toward a white Ford Transit van. Inside that van sat a man who had just paid for his drinks with a credit card, a trail of digital ink he didn't realize would become his own noose. For 60 minutes, that van sat idle in the lot. No one knows what was said. Was it a negotiation? Or was Deundrea already fighting for her life in the back of a vehicle designed to muffle the sounds of a struggle? At 2 a.m., Deundrea's phone made one final call to a friend. It went unanswered. It was likely a pocket dial from the floor of that van. A desperate, an accidental signal for help that nobody heard. 15 minutes later, the van pulled away. Deundrea Ford was gone. The police were looking for hitmen. They were looking for the associates of Jamal Brown and the others from the Otis Parker case. But while they looked for a revenge plot, they ignored the man who had just signed his name to a bar tab. Yolan Washington counted on the world being too distracted by Deundrea's past to notice his present. He wants you to keep scrolling, to stay passive while people like him move through your city. If you think the safety of a mother matters more than the anonymity of a predator, hit the like button and share this right now. Every share is a middle finger to people who think they can vanish our women without a trace. When a woman vanishes after getting into a car with a stranger, Why is our first instinct to ask what she was doing there instead of asking what he was doing? Does her profession make her less of a victim in your eyes? Be honest in the comments. I'm reading.
Tonight marks 2 weeks since missing Houston woman Deundrea Ford was last seen leaving work. It's a story you saw first here on KHOU 11 News. We spoke to Ford's family tonight, and they told us they had no idea she was a witness in a capital murder case. Court documents show Ford was present when a man was shot and killed in May while she rode in a car with that victim. Ford's family first came to us about her disappearance after she was last seen leaving the bikini bar where she worked. At the time, they feared she'd been kidnapped, but tonight they have no idea what may have actually happened to her.
Detectives finally stopped looking for a motive and started looking at the math. The credit card used at the bar belonged to 51-year-old Yolan J. Washington. When they pulled his file, the room went cold. Washington wasn't a hitman. He was something much worse. He was a nomad of violence. Just 2 months prior, he had allegedly strangled and robbed a woman in Dallas. He was an active fugitive, a man with a 20-year history of targeting women in the nightlife industry. He didn't care about the Otis Parker trial. He didn't care about the secret Deundrea was keeping. He just saw a target. When investigators finally tracked down that white Ford Transit van in Virginia, they didn't find Deundrea. They found a mobile chamber of horrors. They sprayed the interior with chemicals that react to iron in the blood. The cargo area lit up like a neon sign, blood on the walls, blood on the floor, and most chillingly, blood on a heavy-duty ratchet strap used for securing cargo. Look, if you're the type of person who thinks this is just another sad story and you don't need to subscribe, do me a favor. Go to the comments and explain why you're okay with staying uninformed. Maybe you think you're untouchable. Tell the community why you're fine with missing the warnings that could save a life. Washington was a documented predator, walking the streets while under a warrant for a similar crime. If the police had caught him in Dallas, Deundrea would be home tonight. Who do we hold accountable for the freedom of a serial attacker? The judge, the cops, or the system that lets them slip through the cracks? If you ever feel uneasy, use the emergency SOS feature on your phone. On most devices, clicking the power button 5 times rapidly calls local authorities and sends your GPS coordinates to your emergency contacts. It takes 2 seconds and works even if you can't see the screen. Always establish a check-in protocol with a friend. If you don't send a specific mundane word by a certain time, like apples, they call for help immediately. No questions asked. For months, Yolan Washington sat in a cell, maintaining his innocence. He claimed he dropped Deundrea off safely. He thought he was smart. He thought he had scrubbed the van clean. But he forgot about his shirt. The shirt he wore in the bar surveillance footage was found in the van. Forensic analysts found a mixture of DNA on the fabric. It was his and hers. It was the physical proof of a struggle that he couldn't explain away. Then came March 15th, 2024. A worker in an industrial area of Dallas looked into a culvert on Luna Road and saw what was left of a human being. The remains were skeletal, but the location wasn't random. Luna Road was Washington's comfort zone, the same area where he had committed his previous crimes. He drove 240 miles from Houston to Dallas just to discard Deundrea like a piece of refuse in a ditch. People like Washington thrive when we don't pay attention. He used that van to blend into the city because he knew most people wouldn't look twice at a commercial vehicle. Hit that subscribe button right now to join a community that keeps its eyes open. If you believe every predator deserves to be unmasked, you belong here. Udi, he had the patience to drive 4 hours with a body in the back of his van. Does a person like that ever deserve to see the sun again? Or is a life sentence still too merciful for what he put Deundrea through? Type never in the comments if you want him under the jail.
The remains of Ford found in Dallas County, the same county where the man investigators say perpetrated this crime, killing the 21-year-old, also remains in jail. It's an outcome family members of Deundrea Ford didn't want to see. Her remains identified in Dallas nearly a year after she disappeared from this bar and grill in East Houston. Ford's uncle, Kevin Carrier, spoke with KPRC2's Rochelle Turner shortly after her disappearance.
Just at full disclosure, we were told by HPD that the guy, the person of interest, suspect was detained out of town.
The person, this man, Yoland Washington. He was arrested in Dallas for a different case, but later charged in Ford's murder after investigators said they had evidence connecting him to her death. Court records show investigators saw surveillance video of the two getting into Washington's white van, but he was the only one seen leaving the vehicle. Dallas police tell KPRC2, quote, "This is being investigated as an unexplained death and the investigation is ongoing." However, Houston police tell me they're leading the investigation and waiting for Washington's extradition back to Houston.
And Washington remains in jail on a $1.1 million bond.
It took the University of North Texas 6 months to confirm what the family already knew in their hearts. The bones in that culvert belonged to Deundrea Ford. The star witness of a capital murder case had been snuffed out, not by the criminals she feared, but by a monster she never saw coming. Today, Yoland Washington faces murder charges in Harris County with a bond set at $1.1 million. The evidence is a mountain. The DNA on his shirt, the blood in his van, and the cell phone data that proves he was at that culvert on Luna Road when he said he was somewhere else. Deundrea's 4-year-old son will grow up knowing his mother was a hero who refused to be intimidated by the killers on Selinsky Road. But he will also grow up in a world that failed to protect her. The witness vacuum is a real, lethal problem. And when we ask people to stand up for justice, we owe them a safe place to land. What's your take on this? Was the Otis Parker case a distraction that allowed Washington to slip through? Comment below. I'm reading every single one. If this story moved you, hit the like button and send this to one woman in your life who needs to hear those safety tips. To the family of Deundrea Ford, we offer our deepest condolences. Your fight for the truth is the reason she was finally found. To everyone who made it to the end, thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.